Well, up till now, what we've done is we've examined what a diagonal triangle is, why it's the most dynamic wave pattern above all others, the key structural traits of a diagonal triangle, and how to identify a diagonal triangle in real time. And I hope what I've shown you so far has gotten you a little excited about this wave pattern, and I hope that by the time the presentation is over, you'll even be more excited. But we're still not through going over this pattern, dissecting this pattern, and learning as much as we can about the diagonal triangle. So let's move on and take a look at what rules do diagonal triangles adhere to. Well, these are rules that can never be broken. That's why it's a rule. They say some rules can be broken, but in the case of our diagonal triangle and in the context of the pattern, these are the rules that cannot be broken. Okay, a diagonal triangle is made up of 5 waves. Each wave within a diagonal triangle must subdivide into 3 waves. Wave 3 cannot be the shortest impulse wave of waves 1, 3, and 5. Diagonal triangles can only occur in the 5th wave position of impulse waves and the wave C position of ABC formations. And diagonal triangles are found only at the termination points of larger wave patterns. Now in the next few slides, what I'm going to do are show you examples graphically of each one of these rules in action. Okay, in this instance here, we have a diagonal triangle, and as you can see, it clearly has 5 definable waves. And as you can see in this slide, each wave subdivides into 3 smaller waves, thereby defining this structure as indeed a diagonal triangle. In this slide here, as we covered in the rules, wave 3 cannot be the shortest impulse waves of waves 1, 3, and 5. Now, it doesn't have to be the longest, but it can never be the shortest. And as you can see here, this is the length of wave 1, and as you can see here, wave 3 is shorter than wave 1, which means by definition, wave 5 must be shorter than wave 3. And in this instance, as you can see, wave 5 is indeed shorter than wave 3. Now, as I said in one of the rules, that diagonal triangles can only occur in the 5th wave position of impulse waves and the wave C position of ABC formations. And as you can see, this is one of the earlier diagonal triangle formations I showed you when we began our presentation, that this is indeed a 5th wave advance. And in this slide here, you can see that this is indeed a diagonal triangle, and it occurs in the wave C position. Now, the final rule that I mentioned a moment ago is that diagonal triangles are found only at the termination points of larger wave patterns. This is what I mean. Here's a diagonal triangle in the E-mini Russell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and as I said in the rules, diagonal triangles can only be found or found primarily at the termination points of larger wave patterns, just as this one is. This is the diagonal triangle, and again, this is why I think they're so exciting. They lead to sharp reversals in price back to below the origin of the pattern in this instance. Okay, here's the Nikkei. Here's another diagonal triangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The trademark converging trend lines. Wave 3 is shorter than wave 1, which means that wave 5 must be shorter than wave 3. In this case, it most certainly is. And again, diagonal triangles can only form at the termination points of larger wave patterns, as it did in this instance here. This is a large double zigzag correction, ABCX, ABC, And as you can see, this diagonal triangle down here does indeed mark the termination point of the larger wave pattern. Now that we've covered the rules of diagonal triangles, what guidelines do diagonal triangles adhere to? Well, before I cover this in-depthly, let me just say that rules are rules. They can never be broken. Guidelines are tendencies. Guidelines are things that we look for, but in some instances, they don't always occur. But it's something that we look for and try to demand from a structure, from a formation. So, but these are not hard and fast. These are just, what we'd like to see, and I would say occur probably about 80% of the time. So let's review the guidelines. Trend lines connecting the extremes of wave 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 tend to converge. Wave 4 should end within the price territory of wave 1. Volume tends to diminish as a diagonal triangle forms. Diagonal triangles retrace sharply back to the origin of the pattern and then some, usually in 1/3 to 1/2 the time it takes the pattern to form. And just as fifth wave diagonal triangles denote the termination of a larger wave pattern, diagonal triangle C waves often introduce a wave pattern of a larger degree. Now what I'm going to do here is again walk you through and show you examples of these guidelines in action. Okay, here we have our converging trend lines between 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. In this instance here, wave 4, and this is familiar because we looked at this chart previously in the cues. Wave 4 does indeed